Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Marisa, or for those of you that prefer to say Diane Eddix, whichever one. I've been called much worse, so Marisa or Diane Eddix is fine with me. Yeah, it's been a few days since I've left a video. I was having problems. I don't know what it was. There was something going on with YouTube, and it was like not loading up any video. Oh, and excuse, I just got done with this like clay project, so yeah, a little messy. Um, so, my God, this might be a long one because you know what? There's several things I wanted to talk about. I think first and foremost, what I want to get off my chest, I want to talk about Grant Cardone for a moment because I keep seeing these shows about him. Everyone, whether it's the SPTV community, and which, by the way, I'm friends with almost everyone in the SPTV community. Just because I don't have that on my channel, I just look at it as a logo. And if I'm not friends with people that are showing it, it's because I've never talked to them and I don't know them. I just prefer, I'm not a logo person. So that's why. Um, but anyways, so there's a lot of interest about Grant Cardone. He's been around for a while. Um, and no one has discussed yet his location here in Scottsdale, Arizona. No one. I don't think anyone knows he is out here. I actually was hired by that asshole. So that's going to be the first story I talk about really quick. Um, so, um, gosh, how do I start? So, yeah, he has a business out here. It's called Cardone Ventures LLC. And his main hub is in Florida. And, honestly, he picked a very good location here because Arizona, Texas, and Nevada are the top three states in America for the real estate industry. Everyone is either moving here or selling their home. I mean, it's if you have a real estate license, it's like um, real estate heaven in, I would say, Arizona. And I would say 80% of my relatives that live here have real estate licenses. I almost got my real estate license. I decided not to. This is like 15 years ago because our big real estate boom began in 2008. Um, I just don't like the idea of making commission only. I don't like the unpredictability of that. Also, with commission only jobs, they usually do not have benefits, and that's very important to me. I want my 401k, I want my FMLA, I want my short term, long term disability. I want it all, man. Like, I'm just a corporate, whatever you want to call it. So, I was applying for jobs. This was like, I don't know how long ago was it, like a year and a half to 18 months ago. I was applying for jobs and sending my resume out like crazy, and I think it was like ZipRecruiter, and I wanted to get back in with American Family Insurance because they have a huge location out here. I don't mean their satellite office, but they do have a big location here where you're like on salary and you get paid. They still have a pension. Oh man, I was like, I was really dumb when I quit American Family. I don't know why I did that, but so I was trying to get back in with American Family Insurance, right? And I get this email and it shows American Family Insurance and it says, "Dear Marisa, thank you for your recent application. I would love to interview you." And I'm like, it showed, a little clip of my resume and the American Family logo. So I was so happy, like, yes, I get to interview with American Family Insurance. And I know from working there in the past, their email suffix or ending, it's amfam.com. So AM, for America, FAM for family.com. And I noticed the lady who emailed me, it was her name, and then it said cardoneventures.com. And I'm like, is this fucking Grant Cardone's business calling, like emailing me to, like, for a potential job interview? So I was curious, I emailed her back and I said, yeah, I'd like to continue this process because I wanted to know, like, how much Grant Cardone pays his employees and mainly what kind of benefits that he offers. Now, I've driven past his office before, not deliberately, but just it's about a 15-minute drive. It's nice, you guys. I mean, I don't like Grant Cardone, but that dude has a 4-story office building in Scottsdale, Arizona, which Scottsdale is basically the Beverly Hills of Arizona. 4-story freaking office building in one of the most expensive commercial real estate areas out here. It's like Cardone Ventures, like way on top in big, huge letters. I remember seeing that, like, holy shit, man, that is like a big ass office that dude has. So, anyways, the lady that, the hiring recruiter, she got back to me. She actually called me and we had an interview. She still never told me it was Grant Cardone's business. She was still representing herself as though it was like American Family Insurance. And I asked what the salary was. She said it's commission only. And I said, what are the benefits? And she said, oh, we don't have any benefits. But you're going to be making so much money here that buying your own benefits will not be a problem. Which that's what companies like that always say, because I'm used to this. I when it comes to like pyramid and multi-level, like Primerica and jobs like that, oh my god, I can spot them from like a mile away. It's always commission only, no benefits, and they always use that phrase. But you're gonna make so much money, you can buy your own benefits. So, yeah, I asked what the job entailed, and she said it was going to be calling people and selling like insurance products. So I don't know really what Grant Cardone does, but if you look at like the jobs out here in Arizona, like whether it's Monster, Jobbing.com, ZipRecruiter, if you type in Cardone or Cardone Ventures, he is in there so many times under a like plethora of different job industries. There was one even for like the HVAC industry, which is like the heating and air conditioning and heating industry. Like, what the heck is Grant Cardone doing selling air conditioning systems? So I didn't pursue it further. I could have gone in person, but you know what? That dude creeps me out, even though, you know, I'm not gonna lie, man. He's not a bad looking guy, but that guy is fucking crazy. Anyone that was born in Louisiana was raised as a Southern Baptist and then converts to Scientology is a little bit batshit nuts. I'm saying that on firsthand experience because I almost married a Southern Baptist from Louisiana, and I spent many, many months in Louisiana. I almost moved there before. I'm glad I didn't, though, because they're a little bit, say, about a century behind the times in certain parts of the in certain parts of the state. So yeah, that's what I know about Grant Cardone. Yeah, it's commission only, no benefits, and he is dabbling in like everything out here. I've tried telling my friends and family about him who are licensed realtors, and they know that I grew up in Scientology and my family. But you have to understand, real estate is a money motivated industry, and when you're dealing with people in money motivated industries, they don't give a shit. They don't care what someone's religious beliefs are. All they care about is like, hey, is this guy making money? Is he going to help me make money? And that's it. So all of my real estate friends, family that I've told about Grant Cardone being a Scientologist, they don't care. Okay? Because it's a very greedy industry. So he is in an industry where people aren't looking at him for his like moral, his moral compass or whatnot. You know what I mean? But no one's done a story yet about, yeah, Grant Cardone and in Arizona. I myself, honestly, I would like to know a little more details about what is actually going on. I don't know anyone that's specifically worked for his office before, but that dude advertises like a mofo out here. And based on the size of his office building, I would say he has a probably 300 to 500 employees very easily, if I had to guess. So that's my Grant Cardone story. Next, what I wanted to do was focus this really on auditing because I watched Serge and Aaron's live a couple days, 3 days ago, and it was phenomenal. I mean, honestly, it was very, it was moving. There's something about those of us that grew up in Scientology and the subject matter of auditing, and it's like taking us back to a very dark place. I compare it to, growing up in a house of like a haunted house and then having to go back to that haunted house and like stare at it. That's sort of what it's like when we have to deal with auditing again and talking about it. I don't know how Serge does it personally because he's had like tenfold or 100-fold more times of auditing than I have. And I consider myself somebody that's had a shitload of auditing. I've said in my videos many times, and if you know my story, I was literally born into Scientology. My parents discovered it in 1975. I was born in 78, so they were like 3 years in Scientology already when I was born. And of course, I chose my parents, and I'm so lucky because I'm very intelligent, and I picked my parents out of all the, you know, pregnant mothers in Hayward, California at the time. That's what they tell. That's what they tell you when you are born into a Scientology family, at least. Um, so, you know, I posted yesterday a copy of the Johannesburg security check, SEC check. And there's another one, it's called the Whole Track SEC check. That's the one I really wanted to post, but it's so long and it's like 300 questions. There's weird questions like, have you ever, what is it? Something about a baby farm. All I remember is a baby farm. And I remember being a little child thinking, what the hell is a baby farm? And yes, they do word clear you. Everything that Serge and Aaron discussed, if there's something that you don't know the meaning to, which can be determined by your auditor, and they're looking at the e-meter, which is essentially a lie detector. So if something moves weird, if your needle moves, they'll start grilling you like, what does this word mean? What does that word mean? What does baby farm mean? And eventually you have to start looking up the word and then doing clay demos, and oh my god, it sucks. So there's so many, like, so many security checks, and I've had them all too many times to count. And my earliest memory of having auditing was at 5 years old. I could have had it earlier than that, but 5 years old is the earliest time because I was in kindergarten. So my story is different in the respect that I was not someone going up the bridge, and my parents were not paying for me to go up the bridge. I was a child that was hanging around at the org all the time because my mother was a fanatical Scientologist. And as Aaron and Serge, they were describing like how they would just pick cadet kids at the Sea Org, and if there was like a kid hanging around, they'd grab the kid and be like, hey, we're going to do a security check on you, or, so-and-so needs to twin up for like their grade 2 or level 2 auditing. That's what happened to me all the time. So every auditing experience I ever had was not even done with the false pretense of helping me. it was done solely so that like these auditors that were 40 years older than me could learn how to use their e-meter. So they would ask me all of those questions on, for instance, the Johannesburg SEC check. And what you learn to do when you're a kid growing up in Scientology, you do these things where, I would just in my mind imagine the feeling of like going up or down an elevator. You know how you get like those tingly little butterflies in your stomach? I could just do that to myself. And, all of us can. Just close your eyes, just get like a little nervous feeling and it'll happen. So I kind of trained myself to do that continuously and have like butterflies in my stomach constantly, which would create a floating needle. So when they would ask me these questions, even if there was a word I didn't understand, it always looked like I was just stable. Like, I don't know how to audit. I never learned how to audit, but I've had shitloads of auditing. So however it looks on the other side from the auditing perspective, I knew how to just adjust, physically make my stomach do things that would cause the needle to maintain a floating reaction because I wanted to get the hell out of there and I wanted to have those questions done and over with as quickly as possible. But yes, L. Ron Hubbard is fixated on sex, and when you are a child, it doesn't matter. I've posted some of my mailers that I get from Mace Kingsley. Their motto is, "We audit kids," with an exclamation point. And they even have some that say, "We audit babies." That's their logo at the Mace Kingsley Foundation, which is a branch of Scientology. So yes, when you are a child, they will audit you if you are 6 months old, if you're 1 year old. And people ask, how is that possible? Well, I can't remember from the time I was 6 years old, but Serge might be able to give more details of how they audit babies, and I don't know, but they just do it. From what I remember from my little, my two nephews, unfortunately one of them passed away when he was 9 years old, but I do remember when they were babies. And, my sister was running the org out here. We had one OT8 at the time. She was like the prized possession of Arizona. Her name was Joan Ryan. She was an OT8. She would come over and take my little niece and nephew when they were babies. And the way of auditing was she didn't put them on an e-meter, but because she was like such a high level OT, she could apparently just get in calm with them with her mind and like understand what they were talking about. Like, I remember when my nephew passed away, Tyler, in the house fire, they sent Joan Ryan out to get in calm with Tyler. And I was there, and Joan was just like, I talked to Tyler. He's very embarrassed about what happened. Granted, he passed away from smoke inhalation due to their house catching on fire. And then the roof of the house caved in on him, and luckily he was already gone before that happened. But this OT8 was like, yeah, I spoke to Tyler. He's very embarrassed about what happened. He feels bad that it's almost Christmas time and you all bought presents for him, and he wants me to tell you that he loves you all and he's very sorry. And the whole thing was weird. It's like, okay, so my nephew's embarrassed because their house caught on fire and he's dead, and he's embarrassed. Like, he feels stupid because he's dead. That's Scientology for you. But that was sort of like an auditing session that was provided to him in his, I don't know, afterlife or whatever you want to call it. But I do remember Tyler and my little niece because I basically raised my niece and nephews. That's why I talk about their story, because I consider them like my children. I had to raise them in order for my sister to be the ED at the org and stay there. I saw someone say, I think it was Felicianzo, that's like, that's not true. When you're a public staff member, you don't work 100 hours a week. Bullshit, Felicianzo. Yeah, my sister, her schedule was like 9 a.m. to midnight, 6 to 7 days a week. They'd give her a Sunday off occasionally. But for the most part, it was 6 days a week. 9 a.m. is when she would get there. Sometimes she would stay the night at the org. You know, she basically, when you're the like executive director, that's considered the highest position from a public Scientology perspective. So yeah, 9 a.m. till midnight. And I know this because, you know, I joined staff for 6 months. Well, I joined once when I was 7 during my summer vacation of my first grade into second grade. I did a 3-month stint as a little 7-year-old. But then I joined staff again at 19. And my sister would take me, and I kind of, for a little while, got stuck on the same hours with her because she was my ride to and from the org. And, oh my goodness, God, I don't miss those days one bit. But yeah, my sister was working an average of about 100 hours a week, and she was the executive director for close to 15 years. So, I mean, there's just so much to talk about, you know, so many things. One thing I want to say, you know, I know I made a post about Chris Shelton, and, you know, I saw that and I just thought that's not okay. The guy is not a licensed psychologist. He is not a licensed professional in any realm of the matter to be charging $100 an hour to give people advice about trauma. So that's why I posted that. And I can't stand listening to the guy, but people will send me his items, and, you know, I can only go maybe like 30 seconds before I just got to tap out, like, I've had enough. But yeah, he was saying yesterday, you know, he's always talking about people that practice pseudoscience. And I'm like, dude, that's exactly what you're doing right now. You're not licensed, and you're charging people to practice quack science. It's not okay. And it actually, he can get in deep doo-doo for that if somebody were to complain about him. I'm going to, you know, oh my goodness. How do I put this? I'm going to have to do a lengthier video about auditing because it's a really, really intense, in-depth subject. I wanted to make a video of what happens to you because I'm somebody that experienced a shitload of auditing from the time I was 5 years old throughout 19, and what it does to someone, like when your brain is developing, your mind, everything. I can just say what it did to me. I always refer to it as like a non-surgical lobotomy. That's what I refer to auditing as, because the whole purpose of it is to make you non-reactive, not react to emotions. You know, you have to repeat things over and over again, and as they call it in Scientology, flatten your buttons. So if they know that I'm sad about something, angry, they will just do this over and over again till you're just like a zombie, you know? And I can feel it to a certain extent to this day. I think it's permanently, I guess, some form of damage that I will probably never get over. It's very hard for me to feel happiness and, like, you know, oh yeah, oh everybody, woo. I can't feel emotions like that. It's so hard. That's why I actually had to get on like psychotropic medication for a while to have my brain just constantly have a surge of serotonin going through it so that I could feel some sort of empathy and emotions or whatever, you know. And, you know, of course I did this. You can't take psych meds when you're in Scientology, but, you know, when I grew up and moved out on my own, yeah, I was an adventurer. I'm like, I want to know if what L. Ron Hubbard is saying about these SSRIs, I want to know if it's true. So as soon as I was able to, I started taking SSRIs as soon as humanly possible to see what they would do to me. And no, they didn't make me want to like do bad things or whatever L. Ron Hubbard says. But there's a lot of drama going on lately, and I'm going to end off with this. Just because we are against Scientology and we think it sucks, which who doesn't? I would say 98% of the planet thinks Scientology sucks. That does not mean I have to get along with 98% of mankind. And neither do any of you. That's really stupid thinking, to think that just because we're against Scientology that we're on the same team. No, we're not. We're not on the same team. Okay? You guys see what's going on with Mike Render? Which is something that like a lot of us have known about the guy for many years. There is a large faction of people in this community that still love L. Ron Hubbard, and they think L. Ron Hubbard is like man's greatest friend, and they still practice the ideology of L. Ron Hubbard. Those people are not on my team. We're not fighting the same fight. They're not on most of our teams, those of us that grew up in Scientology. And I don't have to have them on my team, and I don't have to like them. So, for those of you that think this is like some utopia, first of all, this is an activist community. If you guys know what that means it's a fight. You're fighting against something, or you're fighting for something, right? It's a fight. Naturally, people are going to be fighting. There have been people fighting, arguing, oh my God, all kinds of things since I've been a part of the anti-Scientology movement, which has been 2008, respectively. There's always been fighting. There's always been people telling each other to F off. And you know what? That's good. Because when you're in Scientology, you can't. You're supposed to be like this robotic little drone that agrees with everyone, like your comrades. So to those of you that are like, I saw some comment today. It was like, well, you know what OSA is doing, and you know how OSA operates and makes these SPTV people fight and do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not what OSA does at all. And you people that like are learning about Scientology and discovering it and maybe are just hopping on board very recently, learn about what you're talking about. Because when I see comments, you're going to have people like me and other people call you out and be like, that is absolutely incorrect. And stop saying that shit. Because if I don't like you and I think you're a bad person, I'm going to tell you. And if I do tell you, it doesn't mean that it's OSA with these little strings above me doing things. No, it's because I have a mind, right? All of us do. So if you don't like something, if you don't like someone, whatever, it's actually very good for your soul and your mind to let it out and scream at the top of the rooftop that you don't like it and use whatever cuss word you want. That's healthy. I think that's it for now. I try to keep these to like about 30 minutes because I can talk a lot, and I hear people complain if I make videos over 30 minutes long, and they're like, oh my God, Marisa, that's too long, and shut up. So, I'm just going to end it off right now, and I'll be back soon. But take care, you guys, and thank all of you for what you're doing. All of the protesters, I want to say once again, for the millionth time, thank all of you, everyone who is fighting the good fight. And again, it is a fight. Thank you.